this election. And if you do that in a couple of minutes, that's great, and they might say, yes, I'd like to vote for the NDP, or no, I'm not interested, or something in between. And you always want to leave them with a leaflet so that they can think about it. Because it's getting odder and odder to have canvassers come to the door. And yet, it's the best way of talking to the people, because a vote is an individual choice. You can put out all you want on social media and advertisement, but you want to really engage that person. You also want to make sure that you get their name and phone number so that you can call them up on the day of the election or for the advanced vote and say, now, have you voted?
Have you voted?
Have you voted?
The
if you haven't voted, can I give you a ride?
Exactly.
Can I come over and do your vacuuming?
So
you can go vote.
You bet.
Shall I walk your dog? And that is the super fun 28-day election campaign. You door knock. Then there's forums. There's interviews. But mostly you door knock.
What would be a forum and an interview? What was that?
Well, a forum is where a community association, for example, organizes a forum, an all candidates forum, invites all the candidates, and for a couple of hours you're interacting with the audience.
Like a debate, maybe, like what we see on, like a smaller version, though.
Sort of a debate. You don't actually get to debate the candidates, which is kind of sad. But you get to have a speech and you have questions, and the most fun are the questions from the floor. In the debate that I had with Mr. Prentice, the organizer delightfully did not really know the rules. So I got to answer Jim Prentice just about every question. And by the end, he was he had very clearly lost, which was delightful.
And I know you indicated that you, in that particular election, in that particular race, the NDP did quite well, right? Again, and what was I know Prentice eventually won, but what percentage of the vote did Prentice get?
He got 40%.
40%,
which was a winner.
And you got how much?
32.
32. So, and again, I haven't checked this. Am I correct in thinking that's probably historically high for the NDP in that particular riding?
Yes, that's a very conservative constituency in Calgary, and Calgary is very conservative.
No, it is. It is. I mean, I'm not Mr. NDP. We know that. All right. So, now when you're doing the canvassing, then is that just Anne out there, or who have you got doing things with you? If anybody?
You always like to have a team, and what you'll do is you'll sometimes gather people who are interested to go canvassing at the door, because it's just so exciting. There'll be members of the party in that constituency who know that they'll be asked to canvass, and usually it's quite a lot of fun. And then you'll also ask your personal friends and family members to come and canvass. And I always say that after 5 doors, you will be an expert. And it's true. I've trained an awful lot of canvassers, and they usually like it.
Excellent. Okay. Now you indicated that in the general election you were acclaimed for the nomination. Now, after the general election, of course, the NDP won. And people stopped getting acclaimed for the NDP, right?
No more acclamations.
No more acclamations, right? People, well, maybe I'll join the NDP. Let me tell you about that. All kinds of things. So, could you tell me about the process? And again, there was a very tight race, if memory serves, for your particular for the NDP seat that would go against
for the nomination.
For the nomination, right? And you it was a handful of votes. It was like 10 votes or something.
What happened was the expectation was that, of course, I would run again, because there was this sense of, we really want to finish the job, and the residents of Calgary Foothills were so angry at the Conservatives and so happy with Rachel Notley, and there was this residual kind of a dismissal of the Wild Rose as a credible party.
Right.
So it was, and the seat had to be filled, or else the Calgary Foothills would not be represented, and that's not fair.
Right.
So I contested the nomination, and because it's the rules that anyone who has an NDP membership can also put their name forward to be considered as the candidate, there was another candidate who put his name forward, which was kind of surprising, but whatever. Those are the rules.
Right.
And then we had almost a 2-month period where we would sell memberships at the door in the most conservative riding in Calgary. And that was because the only people who can decide who is going to be the candidate for the NDP in Foothills are members of the NDP in Foothills.
Right. And so just so that I'm clear, that you're for the actual nomination, and we're talking, and like I said, different parties will have probably slightly different rules, but none of the parties, you, for example, if you're in the Jim Prentice riding, the Calgary riding, any NDP member can try to become the candidate for that seat, but only the people who reside in that area are able to,
cast a vote.
Cast a vote, right? Okay, so
for the nomination, for who will be the chosen candidate for that election. So, yes, you're right. You can live out of the riding, or I guess I should say constituency. You can live out of the constituency. So, and that was my
constituency
case.
A provincial term then?
Yes.
Okay.
Riding is federal.
Right.
But we kind of use them interchangeably because constituency is quite a mouthful.
Okay, fair enough. Now, you're again, I'm correct in thinking, I know we've mentioned this in the past. Not only are you active in Alberta politics, and not only are you active in federal NDP politics, you're also pretty. I mean, when the NDP declares an election in BC, I think you said you go off and you do that kind of thing. Isn't that correct?
Well, and that's because. I think I joined the NDP in the late 80s, and I said to myself, wow, stony ground. So in order to get skills as organizer or voter contact or campaign manager, you have to be in bigger races. So of course that's British Columbia. So I've gone twice to go and work in big campaigns in BC and bring that experience back to, it's usually Banff, Cochrane, or Wild Rose. And that was one of the smartest things I've ever done. So in this last election in my home constituency of Banff, Cochrane, it was me and my lovely candidate, Cam Westhead. And like I talked about canvassing, we gathered up all the people we possibly could, and we canvassed all the time, and we got him elected, which was fantastic. Something I've always wanted.
Now tell me, and that's great. Tell me how, let's say, and again, we're trying to give practical advice, and it'll likely be the same for all the parties here. You find yourself as the candidate, you win the nomination, okay, something like that. How is the campaign funded? How does the Ann Wilson campaign get funded? Does the NDP make contributions? Are you just doing that yourself, or do you have to go and get contributions? Or how does
for
that
the
work?
NDP, the money is all from the constituency. So hopefully the constituency will have donors in the riding or in the constituency who donate, so you've got a bit of a nest egg, and then the candidate tries to raise funds from anyone they can, as long as they're in Alberta. But I am 100% sure that it's different in other parties.
Oh, okay.
In other parties, quite often the central party will fund a local race.
Okay.
But that's not what we do, because we just can't afford it.
Right. Okay.
Because we're a party of the people, not
and so
company owners.
If I understood you correctly, then it's the money that went into, for example, the Jim Prentice riding, the Calgary riding that you were contested, all of the money that would have been spent on, for example, Ann
Right.
Wilson's campaign when she ran against Jim Prentice,
Yeah.
okay, that would have all have come from NDP supporters in that riding, right? It's not like, for example, you know, you've got someone back east that makes a donation, you know, or someone in another province. That's not how it works at all.
You can't donate out of province to a provincial race.
Okay,
That's the
right.
rules.
And and again, you know this better than me. That's
Yeah.
obviously a federal law or provincial law or something
Well,
like that.
federally, you can accept donations anywhere across Canada
Right.
for a federal race,
Right.
but provincially, no, just within Alberta.
If somebody wanted to contest an NDP riding in one was the candidate for a federal riding,
Right.
okay, is it the same rule then? The money that comes from
No, the money can be donated from anywhere in Canada. It
Right.
can't be from any other country.
right,
But the money in the home riding, or the riding that's being, where you're the candidate, as a practical matter, all comes from members in that riding, and whatever you can fundraise. I think there's a very small fund for candidates that are Aboriginal females with a disability or visible minorities, but
Right.
it's a very, very small
right,
amount
right.
of money. And it's interesting that you say this, because I was very interested to know that for example, the federal Liberals hugely fund
Right.
local races. So candidates, for example, in Banff Airdrie, that Liberal candidate didn't have to raise anything,
Right.
which it's one of the things that, in my view, a candidate should do. They should fundraise, they should door knock, and they should